difficult assessment that's simultaneously being carried out by the Ukrainians, by the Americans, and various other stakeholders.
As we saw in your package, it was to be predicted. It wasn't a great response coming from Ukrainians about this proposal from Donald Trump. But you've had a chance to speak to soldiers and people on the ground there. What's the kind of feeling you get? What kind of a deal for peace, for an end to the war, do you think Ukrainians might be willing to accept?
I think most Ukrainians are willing to have some sort of a compromise, but the conditions that they're being presented with at the moment, surrendering nearly a fifth of their country, not being able to join NATO even if it's needed, and cutting down the size and the capacity of their military, they say that's simply unacceptable. And some of the analysts here, for example, are saying that these conditions are playing into the Russian narrative that there's no such thing as Ukraine. And they're saying that this is basically an attack on the very sovereignty of Ukraine. So I think they're not willing to compromise. Most people, I think, want the war to end, but not on these conditions. And I think they want the conditions to take into account the Ukrainian assessments, the Ukrainian reality, and what the Ukrainians want.
Hassan, thank you so much for that date. Hassan Abdullah, he's near the front lines of the fighting there in Kramatorsk in Ukraine as we prepare to hear more on the political tussles that will take place in Geneva today. The Sudan Doctors Network says 23 children have died of acute malnutrition in the Kordofan region. The deaths reported between October and November 20th highlight the worsening humanitarian situation. Famine spreading and there's almost no aid going into the country. Fighting between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces in this ongoing civil war is expanding in North Kordofan. More than 100,000 people, remember, have been displaced from the city of Al-Fasher since that was taken by the RSF in October. Meanwhile, in Sudan's northern city of Dongola, tension erupted on Friday after members of the pro-army faction Aulad Kamar group declined instructions from local military commanders that resulted in 2 fatalities. Sources say that army forces intervened, seizing the group's vehicles, and that calm has since been restored. Abdallah Hussein reports for us from Omdurman.
What happened in Dongola, the northern state, has been labeled as defiance to direct terms and directives from the army's command, which is to implement all of the factions that are pro-army right now. They are fighting alongside with the Sudanese armed forces against the paramilitary, the rapid support forces. According to the statement from the Northern States Security Committee, they said that the Aulad Gamari faction, which is a paramilitary that has been fighting alongside with the army since 2023 against the RSF in multiple battlegrounds in Central Sudan and also in Kordofan and Darfur region. According to the statement from the Security Committee, they said that the commander of this force, of this pro-army force, which is Aulad Gamari, defied directives from the army's command to be implemented into the 79th division with the army. The commander of this force said that they won't implement and they won't integrate into the army, and they will hold their ground as a paramilitary, as a faction fighting alongside with the army. He also gave himself the rank of a colonel, a lieutenant colonel, with no justification, according to the statement from the Security Committee in the northern states. So, and he also said that he will open fire. He will fight with force if he was forcefully integrated into the army, according to his words and according to the statement from the Security Committee. However, the army said, and the Security Committee said in their statement, that they have dealt with this defiance by force, which led to the killing and the death of two fighters from the Aulad Gamari pro-army militia. They also have been forcefully dealt with, and they asked them to deliver and submit all of their equipments, all of their vehicles, all of their military vehicles, all of their weapons to the army, to completely integrate them into the army's command. And also two of the fighters with the Aulad Gamari has been killed into these actions in Dongola city in the northern state.
The White House has accused South Africa of weaponizing its G20 leadership to advance political agendas. President Trump boycotted the summit in Johannesburg over his widely rejected claim the host country's persecuting its Afrikaner white minority. In his absence, world leaders broke with tradition by adopting a declaration at the beginning of the gathering, addressing the climate crisis and other global challenges. Earlier I spoke with our correspondent Grace Kanja. She's in Johannesburg and analysed the summit so far with international affairs analyst Garth Lepere.
As we speak, the conversation that these leaders are having is on a fair and just future for critical minerals, and we'll get to that. But you did mention about the United States accusing South Africa of weaponizing its leadership of the G20, such a heavy word to use, I would say, but I don't want to be the one to dissect this. I have with me Dr. Garth Lepere. He's an international affairs analyst, and he will be joining us for this conversation. So thank you very much, sir, for making the time. My anchor in studio is asking us what this impact of the United States using such heavy words on South Africa, saying that South Africa is weaponizing its leadership of the G20. What do you make of that?
To the contrary, it is Trump that has weaponized his leadership as President of the United States on two counts. One was his false allegations against this country that there's genocide, which is not true. The other, of course, is, what he called in his executive order egregious actions by South Africa by taking Israel to the International Criminal Court. The other and quite serious circumstance here is Trump staying away from this summit. And now let's remember that the genesis of the G20 is really rooted in American leadership under the presidency of Barack Obama. Now Donald Trump has just undermined, the spirit of the meeting, the summit, as well as the contribution that the United States has made in the evolution of this informal forum.
So with or without the United States, a declaration has indeed been made. And one of the priorities has been harnessing critical minerals. And like I said earlier, that's the conversation that's currently being held by the G20 leaders in a closed-door session. But the question would be, how do you see this working? How do you see this framework working? What needs to change? Because in all honesty, it's not the first time we're hearing this talk about mineral beneficiation and how particularly the African continent should extract, process, and value add its own minerals. But how do you see it? How should it work so that it's actually impactful this time around?
Well, I think, the onus is really on African leadership. I think there are enough declarations to to this particular theme across various G20 summits, starting in Indonesia through to Brazil, India, and now South Africa, where the issue of critical minerals is raised, particularly with regard to what you mentioned. The entire value chain from extraction to production to adding value and making sure that, those benefits stay within the continent. Now, the African Union, as you know, is now a full participant and a member of the G20. So there is a particular responsibility on the African Union to develop a kind of framework of leadership that would make sure that at least on critical minerals, as with the green transformation, as with digital governance, as with trade and investment, all these themes that come together to affect the African agenda are taken up by the African Union Commission as managing this agenda.
In fact,
the two-day G20 summit in South Africa is drawing to a close. Let's listen to the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, who's speaking.
Should continue as it serves a good purpose in giving guidance to the economic well-being of the world. At the heart of our presidency lies a conviction that the G20 must act boldly and act together to create an environment of inclusive growth, an environment of reduced inequality, an environment which will support sustainable development. South Africa has used this presidency to place the priorities of Africa and the Global South firmly at the heart of the G20 agenda. Building on the developmental agenda of previous presidencies in Indonesia, in India and Brazil, we have prioritized the issues that matter most to developing economies. And in executing our task as a G20 president, we learned a lot from what Indonesia did, what India did, and what Brazil did. So in many ways, what we see having unfolded here was based on the foundations that those three countries of the Global South put in place. The G20 South Africa Summit Leaders' Declaration is more than words. It is a commitment to concrete actions that will improve the lives of people in every part of the world. Our agreement on a declaration during this summit demonstrates the value of the G20 as a forum that can facilitate joint action on issues of shared concern. Shared concern not only for the leaders, but shared concern for the peoples of the world. More than that, it reaffirms our renewed commitment to multilateral cooperation and our recognition that our shared goals outweigh our differences. Together, we must accelerate progress towards the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and the Pact for the Future. We have laid the foundation of solidarity. Now we must build the walls of justice and the roof of prosperity. Let us move forward together, demonstrating to the world that we do have the capacity to confront and overcome the world's challenges. Through partnerships across society and by remembering our common humanity, we can create a more secure, a more just, and a more prosperous world. And together, we can ensure that no one is left behind. I now say that this gavel of this G20 summit formally closes this summit and now moves on to the next president of the G20, which is the United States, where we shall see each other again next year. The summit is therefore closed.
And there we have it, Cyril Ramaphosa there, literally wrapping up the two-day G20 summit of the world's biggest financial powerhouses there, taking place in Johannesburg. And that should have officially been the moment where he handed things over to the United States, because they will be hosting the G20 next year. But the notable absence, no Donald Trump there. The handover was not able to take place. The United States had proposed sending their charge d'affaires to try and make that happen. Cyril Ramaphosa said that wasn't going to happen, so the handover will happen at some point at a later stage. And that brings you right up to date. You're watching TRT World. Do stay with us as the news continues.
It's a big business, and for a few household names who compete in sports with major sponsorships, the rewards can be huge. But for athletes involved in lesser-known sports, pursuing an Olympic dream can be a lonely, bank-breaking road. The Olympics generate billions of dollars, but the majority of those who make it all happen are struggling to make ends meet. and the U.S. government won't pitch in. We're less than 100 days from the Winter Olympics in Milan. And as always, the United States hopes to come home with the highest medal count. But away from the cheers and the applause, there is a story of genuine struggle happening with American Olympic athletes. Right now, I'm on my way to learn about an Olympic sport that doesn't get a lot of exposure, speed skating. And while I'm there, we hope to find out what it takes to become an Olympic medalist. Speed skating has been part of every Winter Olympics since the first one in 1924. Athletes race on ice skates at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour. Key techniques include a low, aerodynamic stance and precise blade control. U.S. speed skating has produced more Olympic medals than any other sport in the Winter Olympic history. I'm catching up with one of the sport's upcoming stars.
My name is Anastasia. I'm 9 years old and I do speed skating.
Why do you like speed skating?
I like speed skating because ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to go fast on my ice skates, but they were figure skates, so I just try to move my feet fast. My coach switched me to hockey skates so that I could learn to put more pressure into my push, but I really didn't want to just play the hockey game. I wanted to go fast, so I chose speed skating.
Anastasia Chan has been speed skating for 2 years. Coaches very quickly saw something special in her and advised her parents to increase her training and help develop her skills. How does speed skating make you feel?
It makes me feel good, like when I put pressure into my push and then I just kind of glide.
For Anastasia, skates probably 5 to 6 days a week. On average, 3 hours a day are the practices. One day a week is dry land only, so it's maybe an hour and a half. And then we commute from DC, so depending on the time of the day, it could range from over an hour to 40 minutes to get up here.
Life for the Chan family has changed drastically over the last year. Early mornings, late night training, and thousands of dollars spent on travel, equipment, and training. Their lives now revolve around Anastasia's skating schedule.
She loves doing it, and we want to give her the opportunities that if she's willing to work hard for it, that we're not going to be a barrier to what she wants to do. The cost of the practices and private lessons, the skates, the blades, the equipment, everything adds up. And she's still growing, so every year, new boots, probably new blades every year.
I want to compete in the Olympics.
Anastasia is a member of the Potomac Speed Skating Club in Maryland. It's widely regarded as one of the top clubs in America, and both coaches boast Olympic medals of their own. The club is preparing several hopeful athletes for the Milan Winter Olympics next year. What's it like having your daughter in such a competitive program like that?
I think it's good because she has people to look up to and, see, if you work hard, you can get to the highest levels of the sport. And it's not something that is out of reach.
Do you feel like, this goal of going to the Olympics, how do you think that that's going to help, shape her childhood as she's growing up?
I mean, she's a hard worker just innately, so it's something that the drive comes within her. We tell her, we're on the other side of the spectrum where we tell her just to have fun because, she puts a lot of pressure on herself to do well. So, we want her to have fun and, do as much as she would want to do. We understand that the Olympics is, the high aspiration, and if she achieves that, that's great. If not, this sport also teaches her good discipline. Gives her, a good social network to just have around her. So I think it teaches you a lot of different things.
Is there anything in particular you're working on right now as a speed skater, like a form you're trying to get better at or something?
Well, I'm trying to, when I'm racing, I get a little nervous, so then I kind of run on ice. So I'm trying to put more pressure into my push instead of like running.
The team's training involves practicing on ice and dry land. Today, I'm coming along to watch the kids prepare for a race next weekend in Milwaukee.
There's a lot of pressure on the athletes. Obviously, it depends on the sport, but in short track right now, qualifying for the Olympic team, that's just step one. You still need to qualify spots at the World Cup qualifiers to participate. So you can make the Olympic team, but if you don't qualify enough spots, you don't race at the Olympics. I'm John Henry Kruger. I was a Olympic medalist in the 2018 Winter Games and the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. So I grew up in an ice rink due to my mother being a figure skating coach, a lot of hours watching her teach her students. And we were always fascinated with ice sports because me and my older brother didn't enjoy being outside in the heat. So we enjoyed watching hockey, but we didn't want to play it, and figure skating wasn't really our interest either. So short track speed skating was like that great happy medium where we got to be competitive and go fast and race. So it's a long journey. I mean, for the beginning years, you're just you spend a lot of time in your local teams developing your fundamentals and basics for the sport. Short track speed skating is a very niche sport. It has you assume a very unnatural position. You know, you're down low, pushing to the side. It takes a long time to actually get, fast and get to an accomplished level.
Everything leading up to the Olympics is completely self-funded. Once you make the Olympics, your travel expenses are paid for. But that means years of investments by athletes and their families. The athlete won't make money from the Olympics unless they win a medal or get sponsorships from outside the United States Olympic and Paralympic committees. In the United States, U.S. Olympic athletes and their sport federations are not federally funded.
What does the U.S. look like compared to other countries for financial support for the athletes?
I think in the U.S. what happens is the main sponsors are mom and dad. That's how it was for me when I was an athlete. So you do limit the talent pool by, if you have parents that can't fund an athlete's journey, then maybe they can't participate. So that is something that does hurt the sport in the short term and the long term, because really it's a numbers game. The more skaters you have, the more chance you have of finding that phenom skater that can get a medal at the Olympics.
Other countries like Canada, the Netherlands, and China federally fund their Olympians, taking a lot of the pressure off athletes. And this funding is translated into medals. In the Beijing Winter Olympics in 2022, China won a record-breaking 9 gold medals and a total of 15 medals overall. This placed them third in the gold medal tally, ahead of the United States. Their success was largely down to the performances in short track speed skating and figure skating.
There's many different avenues to receive funding. Like there's local city teams where athletes can get funding. I think also in other countries it's a bit easier to get a sponsorship. It's really based on sports culture as well. In America, it's hard to sell short track because not only is it so niche, but the equipment can tend to be expensive.
Wholeheartedly, with love and respect.
G20 Liderler Zirvesi'ni Güney Afrika Cumhuriyeti'nin ev sahipliğinde
The G20 Leader Summit has been completed under the auspices of the South Africa. The main theme of the G20 Leaders Summit was equality and solidarity, and I hope and pray that the 20th summit would be auspicious for the whole humanity.
Summit graciously hosted by the Republic of South Africa. I hope that the 20th summit held under the main theme of solidarity, equality, sustainability will bring beneficial outcomes for all humanity.
First of all, I would like to extend my best regards to my dear friend Ramaphosa for the kind hospitality that he has shown towards me and my delegation.
Mr. Ramaphosa for the warm welcome extended to me, my spouse, and my delegation.
G20 zirvesinin ilk defa Afrika'da tertiplenmesinden ayrıca
I am also pleased with the fact that the G20 summit is being organized for the first time in Africa.
öncelikle bir hususu
First of all, I would like to underscore a very important fact.
zengin kültürel, dini, etnik, sosyal dokusuyla
With its rich religious, ethnic, and cultural future, the South Africa deserves the country of rainbow. And for the first time in 2005, as Prime Minister, I paid an official visit to South Africa.
Known as the Rainbow Nation for its cultural, religious, ethnic, and social fabric, for the first time, exactly 20 years ago, in 2005, in my capacity as Prime Minister.
akabinde 2010
And after then, in 2011, as Prime Minister, and also in 2018, on the occasion of the BRICS summit, as the President, I paid another official visit to this beautiful country.
I had the opportunity to visit this beautiful country again in 2011 as Prime Minister and in 2018 as President on the occasion of the BRICS summit.
her ziyaretimde Güney Afrika'dan
In every of my official visits, I left the South Africa with beautiful memories.
Truly fond memories.
Afrikalı dostlarımızın misafirperverliği,
The hospitality and the sincerity of our African brothers and sisters have always affected me, and they also left beautiful marks on my heart.
African friends have always impressed me and left an unforgettable mark on my heart.
ülkemizde de farklı vesilelerle
And
Afrikalı dostlarımızı
we have hosted our African brothers and sisters and our African friends on different occasions in our country.
On various occasions.
ortak çabalarımız sayesinde
Thanks to our joint efforts and endeavors, our bilateral relations have reached to the unprecedented and unimaginable levels that we couldn't dream of 20 years ago.
son olarak
Last but not
Devlet
least,
Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Maşati ile
Mashati, the Vice President, paid an official visit to our country.
Shatina was in our country.
Güney Afrika Cumhuriyeti ile hem hükümetler düzeyinde
Together with the South African Republic,
ANC ile AK Partimiz arasında artan
we
diyalog
have increasing level of dialogue between our governments and also through ANC and AK Party. Our bilateral relations have been developing with the South Africa, to which we attach significant importance.
Türkiye olarak
As the Republic of Turkey, in the upcoming period, hopefully we will strengthen this momentum gained.
Turkey is determined to strengthen this positive momentum in the coming period.
şurası bir gerçek ki Güney Afrika Cumhuriyeti'nin Sayın Nelson Mandela liderliğinde
Under the leadership of Nelson Mandela, South Africa won a great victory against the racist apartheid regime, and this has been one of the strongest symbol for the whole world in their fight for justice and equality.
Africa, under the leadership of Nelson Mandela, over the apartheid regime, has become one of the strongest symbols of the global quest for justice and equality.
Güney Afrika'nın Filistin davasına yıllardır verdiği
And South Africa
sarsılmaz
displayed a principled and unshakable support to the Palestinian cause, and I find this support very valuable.
Principled and unwavering support for the Palestinian cause over the years.
özellikle çoğu çocuk, kadın ve sivil
Especially
100.000 Filistinlinin şehit edildiği Gazze soykırımında
in the Gaza genocide, approximately 70,000 innocent people, the majority of which are women and children, have been massacred.